Wuthering Heights, Love and Revenge in the Wild Moors, a Gothic masterpiece of human passion. Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights stands as one of the most powerful and enduring explorations of human passion in English literature. Published in 1847, this singular novel transports readers to the wild Yorkshire moors, where love and revenge intertwine in a tale of devastating intensity. Through its complex narrative structure and unforgettable characters, the novel examines how destructive emotions can consume entire generations, while the untamed landscape of the moors serves as both backdrop and metaphor for the turbulent human relationships that drive the story forward. The landscape as character, the Yorkshire moors. The Yorkshire moors are far more than mere setting in Wuthering Heights, they function as a living character that shapes and reflects the novel's emotional landscape. Bronte, who grew up on the West Yorkshire moors with her sisters Charlotte and Anne, drew directly from this harsh yet beautiful environment to create a backdrop that perfectly mirrors the tempestuous emotions of her characters. The moors are described as a barren, inhospitable place where only the toughest plants and people can survive, much like the characters themselves who have been shaped and warped and twisted by the harsh climate. The very name, Wuthering Heights, captures this atmospheric power, with wuthering referring to the atmospheric tumult to which its station is exposed in stormy weather. Lockwood's description reveals how the harsh environment has literally shaped the physical landscape. One may guess the power of the north wind blowing over the edge by the excessive slant of a few stunted firs at the end of the house, and by a range of gaunt thorns all stretching their limbs one way. This physical distortion serves as a powerful metaphor for how the characters' souls have been bent and twisted by the forces of passion and revenge. For Catherine and Heathcliff, however, the moors represent something entirely different: freedom. While the houses, Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange, contain social hierarchies, family tensions, and the oppressive weight of civilization, the moors offer escape from these constraints. On the moors, social restraints and differences in social rank don't matter. Gender doesn't matter. This wild landscape becomes a liminal space where Catherine and Heathcliff can exist beyond the boundaries imposed by society, allowing their relationship to transcend conventional social categories. The architecture of love and destruction. At the heart of Wuthering Heights lies the consuming relationship between Catherine Earnshaw and Heathcliff, a love that transcends conventional romantic boundaries to become something both divine and destructive. Their connection is portrayed not merely as romantic attraction but as a fundamental unity of souls. Catherine's famous declaration that, "I am Heathcliff," suggests an identity so merged that separation becomes a form of spiritual death. As Heathcliff himself expresses after Catherine's death, "I cannot live without my life. I cannot live without my soul." Yet this intensity of feeling proves to be the source of the novel's tragedy. When Catherine chooses to marry Edgar Linton for his social status and wealth rather than following her heart with Heathcliff, she sets in motion a cycle of betrayal and revenge that will devastate multiple generations. Her decision reveals the destructive power of social constraints and economic considerations, which force individuals to betray their deepest nature for the sake of respectability and security. The novel's exploration of love extends beyond the central couple to examine how distorted concepts of affection can be passed down through families. Mr. Earnshaw's tendency to withhold love as a punishment and provide preferred treatment teaches his children a distorted view of love. This dysfunctional pattern repeats across generations, with both Hindley and Heathcliff later abusing their children and treating them as pawns rather than human beings. The novel suggests that love, when corrupted by possessiveness and revenge, becomes a destructive force that perpetuates cycles of abuse and emotional violence. The mechanics of revenge, cycles of retribution. Revenge serves as the driving force behind much of the novel's action, creating intricate patterns of retribution that span decades. The theme begins with Hindley's resentment toward Heathcliff, the foundling who displaced him in his father's affections. When Hindley inherits Wuthering Heights, he systematically degrades Heathcliff, denying him education and treating him as a servant. This initial injustice plants the seeds of Heathcliff's later vengeance, demonstrating how childhood wounds can fester into adult obsessions. Heathcliff's revenge, when it comes, proves both methodical and comprehensive. He systematically destroys those who have wronged him, but his vengeance extends beyond the original perpetrators to encompass their children and descendants. He manipulates Hindley's gambling addiction to gain control of Wuthering Heights, then denies education to Herr Tun, Hindley's son, recreating the very ill treatment that was visited on him when he was young. This repetition reveals how revenge becomes a form of psychological reenactment, with the abused becoming the abuser in an endless cycle of retribution. The novel's treatment of revenge is particularly complex because it emerges from genuine injustice and profound loss. Heathcliff's vengeance is never seemly, but it becomes downright grotesque as the years pass, yet readers cannot entirely condemn him because his actions stem from his deep love for Catherine. This moral ambiguity forces readers to grapple with the relationship between justice and revenge, love and cruelty, making Heathcliff one of literature's most complicated anti-heroes. The Two Houses, Civilization and Wildness. The novel's symbolic geography centers on the contrast between two estates, Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange. These houses represent opposing principles that create much of the novel's thematic tension. Lord David Cecil identified this contrast as fundamental to the novel's meaning. We have Wuthering Heights, the land of storm, high on the barren moorland, naked to the shock of the elements, the natural home of the Earnshaw family, fiery, untamed children of the storm. On the other hand, sheltered in the leafy valley below, stands Thrushcross Grange, the appropriate home of the children of calm, the gentle, passive, timid Lintons. Wuthering Heights embodies the wild, passionate, and often violent aspects of human nature. Its inhabitants, the Earnshaws and later Heathcliff, are characterized by intensity, unpredictability, and a connection to primal emotions. The house itself reflects this wildness, described as isolated and exposed to the full force of the elements. In contrast, Thrushcross Grange represents civilization, refinement, and social order. The Lintons who inhabit it value culture, education, and proper behavior, yet they also display weakness and an inability to handle the raw emotions that characterize the Heights. The movement of characters between these two houses drives much of the plot and symbolizes the tension between nature and culture, passion and propriety. Catherine's marriage to Edgar represents her attempt to enter the civilized world of the Grange, yet she cannot entirely abandon her wild nature, leading to the emotional conflicts that ultimately destroy her. The novel suggests that neither extreme, pure wildness nor complete civilization, provides a viable way of living, and only through integration of both principles can characters find happiness. The Gothic supernatural, ghosts and hauntings. Wuthering Heights employs Gothic supernatural elements to explore themes of obsession and the persistence of the past. The novel's most famous supernatural manifestation occurs when Lockwood encounters Catherine's ghost at the window of Wuthering Heights, desperately trying to enter the house where she lived as a child. This haunting is not merely a Gothic embellishment but serves as a powerful metaphor for how the past continues to intrude upon the present. The supernatural elements suggest that some emotions are so intense they transcend death itself. Catherine's spirit appears to be bound to the moors and to Wuthering Heights, unable to rest because of her unresolved relationship with Heathcliff. The ghost represents not only Catherine's individual torment but also the way traumatic events can haunt entire families and communities across generations. Heathcliff's relationship with Catherine's ghost reveals his inability to accept loss and move forward. His obsession with the dead Catherine prevents him from forming healthy relationships with the living, demonstrating how an inability to process grief can become destructive. The supernatural elements thus serve to externalize the psychological reality of characters who remain haunted by their past actions and unresolved emotions. Narrative structure, multiple perspectives and temporal complexity. Bronte employs a sophisticated narrative structure that enhances the novel's thematic complexity. The story unfolds through multiple narrators, primarily Nellie Dean and Mr. Lockwood, each offering different perspectives on the events. This technique allows Bronte to present a fuller understanding of the complex relationships and motivations while also highlighting the subjective nature of storytelling itself. The novel's temporal structure is equally complex, with events unfolding across multiple generations and time periods. The present-day action takes place from 1801 to 1802, but the story encompasses events from the previous 30 years. This extended timeframe allows Bronte to explore how the consequences of actions ripple across generations, with the sins and passions of one generation inevitably affecting the next. The narrative complexity mirrors the novel's thematic concerns with memory, repetition, and the persistence of the past. Just as the characters cannot escape the influence of previous events, the novel's structure ensures that past and present remain constantly intertwined, creating a sense of cyclical time where history seems destined to repeat itself. Resolution and redemption, breaking the cycle. Despite its dark themes and violent passions, Wuthering Heights ultimately offers hope for redemption and renewal. The novel's resolution comes through the younger generation, Kathy Linton and Hareton Earnshaw, who manage to break free from the cycles of revenge that have trapped their elders. Their relationship represents a synthesis of the opposing principles embodied by the two houses, combining passion with gentleness, wildness with cultivation. Significantly, the redemption occurs only when Heathcliff loses his desire for revenge. Late in the novel, he recognizes that continuing his vengeance will only perpetuate the cycle of suffering, and he chooses instead to allow Kathy and Hareton to find happiness together. This moment of grace suggests that individuals can choose to break destructive patterns, though it often requires a profound transformation of consciousness. The novel ends with the suggestion that Catherine and Heathcliff have finally found peace in death, reunited on the moors they loved in life. Meanwhile, Kathy and Hareton prepare to leave Wuthering Heights for Thrushcross Grange, symbolizing a movement toward a more balanced way of living that honors both passion and restraint, nature and culture. Conclusion: the enduring power of Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights remains a powerful and relevant work of literature because it addresses fundamental questions about human nature, love, and the possibility of redemption. Through its exploration of destructive passion and cycles of revenge, the novel reveals how individuals and families can become trapped by their own emotions and past actions. Yet it also suggests that liberation is possible through understanding, forgiveness, and the courage to choose a different path. The novel's setting on the Yorkshire moors provides more than atmospheric backdrop, it serves as a constant reminder of the wild forces that exist both in nature and within human consciousness. The moors represent both the destructive power of uncontrolled emotion and the liberating possibility of authentic existence beyond social constraints. Emily Bronte's masterpiece continues to captivate readers because it refuses to offer simple moral judgments or easy resolutions. Instead, it presents the full complexity of human experience, acknowledging both the destructive and redemptive potential of intense emotion. In doing so, Wuthering Heights stands as a testament to literature's power to illuminate the deepest mysteries of human nature while offering hope for understanding and transformation.